My friends, hello, how are you? We've made it from winter to sprinter. Last month we battled a blizzard. Today we had grapple. Grapple's fun, isn't it? It's like so cute till you get caught unawares in it. I mean, there's gear for everything. There's gear for sun, there's gear for rain, gear for snow, skiing, but there's no grapple gear. There's no grapple jacket out there. Walking down the trail, it shoots straight into your hood, straight down your back at the speed of light. Grapple, it is deceivingly aggressive. I'm just wondering what's going to happen next. Maybe a late season hoarfrost? Huh? Maybe? I know half of you are like, what is grapple? It's a real thing. It's not quite snow. It's not quite rain. It's grapple, you know. It's unique. Welcome to EDCO PubTalk. I'm so glad that all of you are here. I'm Shannon Kelly. Thank you for having me, EDCO. And thank you to Worthy Brewing for this amazing venue. Y'all are doing amazing. It's such a fun place to be. It's weird that it's still light out. Is it not? I'm like, oh, I can see you guys. This is wild. And thank you also to Hand in Hand Productions for making this go in several different rooms. Hand in Hand, you're amazing. Love working with you. So thanks for coming out to mingle and to learn more about some amazing Central Oregon companies. We are pleased to see so many new and returning faces in the crowd. And I'm here thanks to PubTalk's MC sponsor, OSU Cascades. OSU Cascades, what an incredible organization. They are launching Cascades Edge next fall, and this innovative career program is already getting noticed by national trade publications. Across the country, most college students visit their career center rarely, if ever at all. And this program flips the model by integrating career development activities like networking, job shadowing, career fairs, and internships into students' coursework. Robust career development for every student, every term. I think this program should be citywide. Should it not? I could use some help. Okay, so we're able to host PubTalk tonight thanks to our generous event sponsors. You know that I love this part. So first up, Kurt Barker. I understand we're going to have some fun tonight. Kurt is a partner at Best and Krieger. Kurt, what do you got for us?
Working?
Yeah.
I think we're on. Yay. Hey, Kurt Barker, your local friendly employment attorney at Best and Krieger. I have a much more interesting person to introduce you to. We were super lucky to hire Allison Toivola recently. Allison is a great addition to our Energy and Natural Resources practice group now. New to BBK, new to Bend and PubTalk. This is actually her first PubTalk, so warm PubTalk, welcome, please. Thank you. I won't be her last, I'm sure. But I would point out, I hope you get to meet her. She was most recently at the highest level of Vail Resorts. She was a director senior counsel, correct? So, which makes her way more interesting than me. Anyway, I hope you get to know Allison. I'm expecting a slide from the gentleman in the back, and they're about to put it up. I'll tell you why. Why are we looking at 16 different nonprofits here? We've talked a lot in the past about the legacy of what was Carnot Peterson and has continued with our firm, legacy of community service. So I just did a quick poll of just our local attorneys. What boards are you on? What boards are you currently serving? So this is just a snapshot of some of the community service that BBK lawyers are currently involved in, and I'm pretty proud of it. We've got everything from humanitarian to civic-minded causes, drug policy, you name it. What I'd like to do tonight, though, we normally give away $100 of something fun to one of you. I thought we'd just double that and make it a donation to one of these that you vote for. It could be, just do a quick vote, please, on your phone. You can do it while the next title sponsors are up here. Don't worry, I'm going to get off stage. All you have to do is text to the number 22333, text that phrase BBK Law 251 for this poll, and then you'll get a text back, and you just give the letter of the nonprofit that you want to vote on. And the results are going to start coming up here live. They should start coming up if you're doing it successfully. We'll give away $200 to the PubTalk charity of choice. Thanks so much.
Kurt, this is so fancy. I love this. Okay, so the code is 22333, BBK Law 251. You'll get access to the poll, and then you just enter the letter that represents the organization that you want to support tonight. I love this. Kurt, so creative. Okay, so we're going to keep that up, and I'm going to bring our next supporting sponsor up tonight, our event sponsor, Jordan Smith, President and CEO, VLOX Systems. Jordan, how are you, my friend? Dun, 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 dun. I think you should have some music as you come up the aisle. Okay, you come give your Oscar speech.
Hello. Hey, my name's Jordan Smith. I'm with VLOX Systems. We're an IT service provider here in Bend. And yeah, so we do IT solutions. One of the things I want to highlight this evening is just email security. So Microsoft just released a current vulnerability that people can invite you to a meeting. I don't know if you know this, if you've ever been invited and you just ignore it. It still kind of shows up in gray on your calendar until you decline it. That's Outlook interacting with this invitation before you even click on it, which is kind of crazy. So exploiters and malicious actors have figured out how to use that to actually run some malicious payloads through Outlook on people's computers without them even having to click on the message. So it's kind of nuts. This is a lot more interesting than what I'm talking about. I see everyone's eyes are just who's gonna win? That's okay. So anyway, the really best thing you can do is just, make sure you got a decent spam filtering going on. So, if you're using Google or Microsoft, they've got it built in. Make sure those things are happening. If you just get dozens of spam emails all the time, you probably don't have a great spam filter. So it might be a good time to just refresh that with your company and make sure that you have something somewhat modern, somewhat intelligent, leveraging cloud, big data, AI, actually making sure the right messages are getting to you so that you're not getting exploited. Anyway, any other questions you might have about IT security, data security, network security, all of that? I'll be around. My name is Jordan Smith with VLOC Systems.
Thanks, Jordan. Hey, this is fancy, but what you said was very interesting. That's creepy.
That's very kind.
Well, it's true. I'm I don't have a...
At least it's not the latest on employment law. So.
Wah, wah. There's a little something going on between the sponsors tonight. I like it. It's spicy. It's appropriate for Sprinter. All right. Thank you, Jordan. Next up, Umpqua Bank, formerly Columbia Bank, who has been a title sponsor of PubTalk since, I believe, 2010. So here to tell us all about it is Chris DuPont, SVP Commercial Banking Team Lead, Umpqua Bank. How are you, Chris? Here you go. It's good to see you.
All right, thank you. Good to see you as well. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all again. As we learned, Columbia Bank is now a new sponsor as Umpqua Bank. Oh, it was up here a minute ago, but anyway, it's been a good transition. We just took on the name as of March 1st. This week, we're going through the wonderful and delightful, fun times of converting our systems. So technology kind of plays a role in that. Umpqua had a bit more technology than Columbia did, so we're learning those new systems. But we're all the same faces. The one thing that we did is we've expanded our networks. My commercial team, there's 12 of us in Central Oregon now. That's quite a large jump from the 5 or 6 that we used to have a few years ago. We now have 4 branches in Bend. We have 5 at the moment, but we're going to consolidate one of them. And we service the Madras-Redmond area. And then we also expanded our network throughout the whole region of the Northwest and down through California. So a lot to come. Same great bank, same great people. And we just have the technology to do a lot more. And we look forward to continuing our sponsorship here at EDCO.
That's awesome, Chris. Thanks so much. Yeah, we really appreciate you. I am an Umpqua Bank customer, and I'm happy about it. So well done. All right, special thanks to returning title sponsors, Providence Health Plan as well. These sponsors really do make all of this possible. We're so grateful. So thank you all for coming on board with us again and again and making all of this happen. Okay, so Kurt, do you think we want to just call it, or to me this looks like Deschutes Public Library Foundation. Deschutes Public Library Foundation. Congratulations and well done. Kurt, this was so fun. I cannot wait to see what you're going to bring next month. No pressure. All right, so how about a director's minute with EDCO CEO John Stark? John, where are you? Get on up here. I got a hot mic for you, John. What would your theme song be as you walked up to the stage?
Ooh, that's a good question.
The Rock, maybe Rocky, the Rocky theme song, something like that?
What is that? You got me? You got me now? Test, 1, 2, 3. Is it on? It is on. It is actually on.
Welcome, John.
All right, hey, glad to be up here tonight. I wouldn't be, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you one of these. Welcome, PubTalk Nation! All right, guys, so tonight, how many of you have been in your inbox in the last, 30 seconds? I think everybody had their phone out a minute ago, right? So most of you have been through your inbox, but those that haven't, I want to personally invite you to our May 22nd annual luncheon. And we have a national ranked economist coming, Brian Bolio. He's with the Institute in Trend Research. We had him come in 2018. And how many of you are wondering what might happen with the economy in the rest of the year in 2024? Raise your hand. Yeah, most of us are wondering. So Institute of Trend Research is out of California. They're an economic research organization. They've got two primary economists. They're brothers. One is Alan, one is Brian. Brian's coming here. They're well known. They're the oldest continuously operating privately held economic research and consulting company here in the U.S. And their predictions or their forecasts come with about a 94, 95% accuracy rating. And so they drew a big crowd. We're expecting to sell out the River House, which seats about 750 people. So you want to get your seats early, and we hope you can all make it to this event. We're excited to hear what they have to say. They had some news for us that said some things were coming in 2029. I think some things have already come in 2023. So we'd like to hear from him. He's going to paint a picture U.S.-wide. He's going to talk about the global economy, but they'll talk a little bit about Central Oregon and what's happening here. So we hope you can all join us. That's my pitch for tonight. Please come to the annual luncheon, EDCO annual luncheon, May 22nd. Brian Bolio with ITR. So thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, John. I'm looking forward to the luncheon. Show of hands, who's planning to be there? Oh, okay, get your tickets. They always sell out. Okay, so next let me tell you about the Community Belonging Project. This is so awesome. The research team from the Bend-based OHSU Community Research Hub and OSU Cascades invite you to be a part of a study about belonging and resilience in Central Oregon. And participants, listen up to this part, you will get a $10 gift card. I don't know where the gift card is to, but you will get a $10 gift card. Who doesn't want one? I want one. I'll take one. I'm not going to say no. The purpose of this study is to understand the relationship between community belonging, resilience, and health to help inform future public health programs and policies. The research team is supported by the Central Oregon Health Council. So you're eligible to join this research study if you're 18 or older, and if you live in Central Oregon. And your responses to the survey are anonymous. They won't be linked to your contact information. The survey closes soon, so you'll scan the QR code that is on the screen. You can also just follow the link. And it's, I think, pretty easy. So it'd be great to get as many people to participate as possible. So now we're going to hear from Bend Venture Conference Fund Manager Jen Lynch. Jen, how you doing? Okay, what would Jen's theme song be? Something by Beyonce. Anything by Beyonce. Take it away, Jen.
Probably not that cool. Hi, you guys. My name is Jen Lynch, and I am the fund manager at the Bend Venture Conference Funds. Every fall, a group of angel investors in Oregon, in Bend, Central Oregon, gets together and makes a decision about investing in one or more companies that present at the Bend Venture Conference, which happens the third week in October every year. If you're interested, my website is bendvcfund.com, bendvcfund.com. Please go and fill out the form. I am having a get-together on Tuesday, June 20, Deanne's not in the room, either 27 or 28, 27th. And we would love to see you if you have any interest in learning more about the Bend Venture Conference Fund. The event is for prospective investors, not for prospective startups. We have other stuff for you guys. So if you are interested, please go fill out my form or shoot me a note. The price of admission to our prospective investor reception is one friend. You have to bring a friend, because we do better when we have more people in the room. And I really look forward to meeting all of you and seeing you hopefully in the fall. Thanks.
So exciting. Thanks, Jen. Bend Venture Conference, such a killer event. Whatever your role is, you just learn so much. It's so exciting. It's the best. It's my favorite. Well, aside from tonight, of course. Okay, thank you for that, Jen. So tonight's community update is provided by supporting sponsor Sensiba San Filippo. Are you an employer who kept employees on your payroll through the pandemic? Then you may be eligible to receive a valuable payroll tax credit called ERC, Employee Retention Credit. This credit can provide up to $33,000 per employee for employers that kept employees on during COVID-19 impacted months in 2020 and 2021. Companies can receive up to 50 to 70% credit on qualified wages per employee. So if you think you are eligible, contact Sensiba Sanfilippo today for more information. You can go to ssfllp.com or contact info@ssfllp.com. And Barrett Business Services, Inc., the BBSI Central Oregon team deeply enjoys the opportunity to participate and sponsor EDCO PubTalk each month. Their dedicated team of payroll, HR, risk and safety, recruiting, and business professionals stand ready to help you with the aspects of your business that can be distracting and frustrating. Interested in learning about the latest developments in Oregon employment law? Of course you are. Reach out to BBSI to get registered for their free employment law seminar on April 6th. BendJS was started as a web development meetup group in 2017. Since its founding, the group has grown to a community of almost 300 developers and tech professionals. Members of the community crowdsource solutions, share job opportunities, and support each other in tackling everyday issues like what is the best app or platform to use to solve a specific problem. Kyle McLeod has been leading the group since 2018 and will share more about the group's evolution and plans for the future. So welcome to the stage, Kevin. Where are you, my friend? Oh, there you are, right in the front. Okay, here you go. Take it away.
Thank you. All right. Hello. Better? All right. A little closer. Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle McLeod. I'm a software engineer, a product consultant for startups, and a community organizer here in Bend. I am here today to talk about not just one, but actually two great communities that I help organize here in Bend. The first group I do want to talk about is BendJS. We're a large group of software engineers from across Central Oregon getting together about once a month to connect with others in the community and learn from one another. Now, I know the name says JS, stands for JavaScript, and it did start as a web dev group, but we've really expanded, especially since COVID, to include a ton of members from different technical backgrounds. And we want to continue that trend moving forward and really be the go-to group for all engineers in and around Central Oregon. So, like she mentioned, BendJS started back in 2017 when a buddy of mine moved here and was looking for a way to actually meet other people in the field. He and a few friends started putting together some monthly meetings, and soon the community began to form. Most of the original founders have actually moved away at this point, but the community continues to go strong. So myself, along with my friend Chris Coyer, who started CodePen, and a few others, and we have been steadily growing to the point where we now have about 300 people in our Slack channel and over 550 people on the meetup page who get kind of our updates. So we meet once a month, actually right here in this room, where we connect and learn from each other. We actually provide pizza and drink tokens to everyone who comes. And we normally have about 2 presentations each meetup on different engineering topics. In the past, we've also done hackathons, panel and group discussions, and we even did a summer barbecue at one point. We just had a meetup this last Friday, and our next one is planned for Wednesday, April 19th. Also, while I'm up here, I want to thank our amazing sponsors that support us, including CodePen. I mentioned Chris, UpTech Studio, the Technology Association of Oregon, and our one kind of outside of tech sponsor, the LAD Real Estate Group. However, we are always looking for more ways to do more in the community. So if you have a business and are interested in getting in front of this dev community, please reach out to me. So up next, I'm actually really excited to announce a new group I just started along with Claude Chocon, who just did a talk at PubTalk a couple months ago, called Bend Startup Central. We just had our first startup happy hour a couple weeks ago and have another one planned for Thursday, April 13th. So our goal with BSC is to create a core community focused on the startup ecosystem, but especially around tech startups in Central Oregon. So we're modeling it off EDCO in these pub talks, but it's a bit more informal and more focused on the community being able to provide real-time feedback to those in need of help. whether it's feedback on a pitch and a business plan before talking with investors, or help with understanding a cap table and the benefits of bootstrapping versus getting VC funding. We want to provide kind of an intimate setting for those who are working at, starting, or just plain interested in tech startups to get together, help each other out, and strengthen our community bonds. At our very first event, we spent the first 3 quarters of it networking. Then we had 2 presenters come up and give short pitches. The first one was Emmanuel Ogala, who actually spoke here at PubTalk last month, who did his same pitch for us, and then the community actually got to ask questions about his tech and his business plan, and actually gave him feedback for him to take with him. After that, we had John Freese of Startups Accelerator Program come up and give an update on the state of startups in Oregon, and also did a pitch on his new venture. So it was a great first event, and we're really looking forward to the next one. Even though we are just starting out, we have big plans for BSC, so, and looking forward to growing the community through startup happy hours, looking at founders dinners, topic-specific seminars, and more. So kind of a note, we want to make sure that both these groups are and stay completely free and open to everybody. However, we do want to provide a place where people in tech and the entrepreneurship communities feel comfortable sharing their stories, learning from people who have been in their shoes, and really speak the same language. So that is to say, we are completely free and open to all who are earnest in why they're attending. However, we also know that there are many people here that could be very valuable service providers to a lot of those in the community. For BendJS, our goal is to provide a safe space to really dive into the tech. And for BSC, we're still new and kind of figuring it out, but we want to provide the resources, learning opportunities, and partnerships that make a difference in a founder's journey. So for both of these groups, if you are a service provider or just someone who wants to get in front of these communities, please reach out to me, and I would love to help figure out a way to integrate you within the community. So I do actually, I thought there would be a table up here, but table at the front, I have some postcards with a QR code on them that kind of take you to a little link in bio page with links to join our Slack workspaces, links to the meetup pages if you're interested in attending an event, as well as a way to contact me directly. Our Slack channels are an amazing place to kind of stay connected with the community outside of the events, get real-time updates, see and post on our job boards, and ask questions and get feedback from kind of these amazing groups that are always willing to offer a helping hand. Well, thank you for all your time, and hope to see you at the next one.
Let's have a couple questions. This is so awesome.
Yeah,
Have you? Was BendJS the first time you've organized a group? And
yes, that was my first kind of toe dip into doing community organization stuff, and really it was just because I just wanted it to keep going. The original founders or people who started the group were all kind of moving out of town, and I got so much from the group that I wanted to keep it going.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I imagine, have you gotten a pretty good response on the startup group as well, the Bend Startup Central?
Yeah. We didn't do a whole lot of kind of marketing. We posted in some other local Slack channels, some of the Slack channels for some of the remote co-working spaces, things like that. I posted in BendJS. And the first one, I think we actually had like 50 people say they were going to come, and then it dumped snow all day right before the event.
Yes,
and I think we had about 30 come.
That's pretty good.
Really looking forward to kind of the next one and growing, and it would be a good problem to be able to grow out of the space that we're in.
Yeah, I agree. So I imagine you probably have like some pretty cool stories that have come out of people making connections in these groups. What's your favorite one?
You put me on the spot. I don't know if I can think of one single favorite story, but watching people and hearing about people come to the event, maybe they need a job. And one of the things, especially at BendJS, we do at the very beginning of each event is I say, okay, everyone who's looking for work, raise your hand. Okay, everyone who's hiring, raise your hand.
Cool.
And just to make sure we get people connected that way.
That's great.
And actually a lot of those connections have kind of come to fruition. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really great. Any questions for my friend Kyle? I love what you're doing. I hope that you'll come give us an update. And I imagine there's going to be some kind of connection between Bend Venture Conference and, there's got to be something, right? This is so fun.
Yeah, I hope so. it was kind of a spur of the moment thing that we started, and at the very beginning of this year to do the second group and really focus on tech startups, and hoping that we can grow. The kind of future is still a little bit open for us, so would love to continue growing this community and see where it can go from here.
I just love it. So cool. Well, thanks for telling us about it, Kyle. And
thank you.
Check out Kyle's table. Let him know if you have any questions. Connect with him. Get on those Slack channels. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
How about a round of applause for Kyle? Sounds like a fun meetup. Be like all kinds of spin-offs, like singles in tech and, that kind of thing. Just an idea. Okay, let's briefly talk about how you can become an EDCO member. As you can see, EDCO is doing amazing things for the Central Oregon business community, like hosting monthly pub talks. There are QR codes on the tables throughout Worthy where you can easily sign up to become an EDCO member or reach out to Team EDCO to learn more. You will not regret it. Highlighting and hot off the press member this evening, please welcome to the club Codingscape. Rumor has it they're also sponsoring the BendVenture conference, so I look forward to hearing more about them. And maybe that would be a good connection for you, Kyle, with BendJS. I hear Bet Hannon was actually the one that we have to thank for this connection. Bet is like the model community member, EDCO advocate and community member. So Bet, wherever you are, thanks for being you. You're so awesome. How about a round of applause for Bet? If you don't know Bet, introduce yourself. That's awesome. That's what PubTalk's all about. That's why it feels so good to be here. Okay, tonight's next company pitch is sponsored by TDS, a proud supporter of EDCO and PubTalk events and values being a part of the Central Oregon business community. TDS offers high-speed internet, phone, and TV integrating all of your favorite streaming video services for both home and business. Their fiber optic network continues to expand through new business construction projects to keep up with our rapidly growing community and its technology demands. Please go to hellotds.com for further details. And of course, COAR, the Central Oregon Association of Realtors, is the voice of the real estate industry in Crook, Deschutes, Jefferson, and Harney counties. COAR's members strive to build better communities by supporting quality growth, seeking sustainable economies, and housing opportunities. So up next, I'm so excited about this one, Square Baby. Fed up with all the fruit-heavy, sugar-laden baby foods masquerading as balanced meals, Katie Thomson, who's a registered dietitian and Starbucks first nutritionist, and her co-founder knew they could do better. Determined to create a solution, they created Square Baby. With Square Baby, each meal is completely balanced, and the Square meal system delivers 100% of a baby's daily recommended servings of fruit, veggies, protein, and grains. Square Baby is a trailblazer in science-based nutrition and the only brand offering a customizable meal service for babies that is committed to food allergy prevention and veggie-forward balanced meals. Welcome to the PubTalk stage, Katie Thomson, co-founder of Square Baby.
You kind of covered it. All right, I hadn't quite figured out the props. Oh, good. Hi, guys. Can you guys hear me? Hi. Yeah, okay. I'm Katie Thomson. I'm a registered dietitian with a master's in nutrition, a mom of 2 awesome boys that are here tonight, and co-founder and CEO of Square Baby. So, did you know that most baby foods have the same amount of sugar as a bowl of this? Ridiculous. And did you know that repeatedly sucking food out of a pouch can actually hinder an infant's motor development skills? Not cool. I'm done dropping things, by the way. Even worse, many of the leading brands have been knowingly selling baby food with toxic levels of heavy metals. This is insanity, but I'm not done. Why do most baby food companies tout allergen-free products when research and every pediatric expert will say that introducing allergens actually helps to prevent food allergies from developing? Parents are fed up and they've lost trust. They've left with either taking the convenience of store-bought baby food and risking the heavy metals and sugary nonsense, or spending hours in the kitchen making it themselves. It's a lot. Babies deserve better, and parents deserve a brand they can trust. Introducing Square Baby. We're more than just an organic baby food company. Our meals are made fresh and delivered frozen to your doorstep. That's right, parents, you can rejoice. You don't have to spend hours with a blender to get the best nutrition. We're a subscription service where repeat customers are our norm, and owning that customer relationship is where we shine. We offer a science-based, foolproof solution with dietitian-designed meal plans that are tailored to baby's age, stage, and dietary needs. More about me? You're welcome. I spent the first half of my career as the first nutritionist for Starbucks, paving the way as health and wellness went from a blip on the radar to one of the 4 strategic pillars of the company. I was in charge of the nutrition facts and all the claims on packaging to start, and then took a more strategic role in the company, working with R&D to drive major changes across food and beverage, became the company's spokesperson for health and wellness, and then consulted the executive team on strategy, innovation, and acquisitions. But everything changed when I became a mom. Oh my God, you guys are never here, so I never get emotional. But that's it, 14 years ago. I cruised the baby food aisle as a working mom and as a dietitian, and I was fed up by what I found. Many baby foods were unbalanced. They were lacking veggies and premium proteins and healthy fats. I saw a sea of uninspiring, shelf-stable, muted flavors and rows of unrecyclable pouches. So a fire started in me 14 years ago to create a solution that didn't exist, to create the next gold standard in infant and childhood nutrition, and to become the most trusted brand and resource for families and healthcare professionals. And before you say, I don't invest in baby, they age out too quickly, I have 4 key points that you have to understand. 1, we're building a parent's trust with the most stressful nutrition decisions and critical health milestones. Once you have that trust, you're gold. 2, even with just baby, our return on ad spend is 3 times what most companies' goals are, because once our customers find us, they stay and order hundreds of meals. 3, our company is actually named Square Foods for a reason. We will grow with our customer, bringing on additional product lines for toddler and the rest of the family. And 4, the market size is actually larger than you might think. The U.S. baby food market is projected to reach $17 billion by 2026, and the online retail segment is the fastest growing segment with a anticipated growth rate of a CAGR of 10% from 2022 to 2028. A lot of opportunity there. And we're not the only ones who see this opportunity, so let's talk about our competitors. Get scared. There are a couple of emerging brands that have launched over the last 5 or 6 years, so a year or 2 ahead of us. Little Spoon and Yumi, they sell vegan-only baby food. They've been flooded with growth capital and are doing about 20 to 30 million in annual revenue now. But do you have a minute? You do. Because I have a laundry list of differentiators. Our meals taste better. Trust me. Our customer service is stronger. I hope they're not watching. We have a team of dietitians to answer questions anytime. And most importantly, we're the leader in science-based nutrition. I've taken the guesswork out of feeding your baby and developed a proprietary trademarked meal system that makes it foolproof to offer 100% daily nutrition. So that means any 2 to 3 of these square meals per day offers 100% of their daily recommended veggies, fruits, grains, and protein. With our diverse offerings like beets and curry and cardamom, I've removed the worry that your little one's gonna grow up to be a picky eater whose favorite food is plain pasta, and worst, or their least favorite is just about everything else. It's a scary thing as a parent, right? And no sugary purees here. We have a veggie first promise. So that means every meal has veggies as a primary ingredient. We're also the only fresh baby food offering proteins beyond vegan. We proudly offer plant-based protein options, and shout out to the vegans in the room, but we also offer the most premium animal proteins like organic salmon, or sustainably caught salmon, organic egg, chicken bone broth, and yogurt. These foods offer critical nutrients for brain, body, and microbiome development. It's no surprise that apple curry chicken is our top seller. Okay, and remember that heavy metals issue? We proactively partnered with the Clean Label Project in selecting our organic farms and suppliers, and recently earned the Purity Award, the gold standard in third-party lab testing for heavy metals. And it's really the stamp of approval that parents are coming to demand. And what we're most proud of is being the leader and pioneer in early allergen introduction. We're helping to prevent food allergies by offering meals with 8 top allergens. Meals like hazelnut pumpkin pie and almond butter and banana make introducing allergens super delish and lower stress. We offer it all, not just one dietary lifestyle, because we're not about fads, we're about science. Okay, so more about the company. We launched in 2018 as a regional direct-to-consumer service, shipping to 8 West Coast states. We wanted to test, learn, prove out the concept before going to scale. So we started in a commercial kitchen. In fact, my co-founder, Kendall, and I made the first 100,000 meals by hand as an FDA-approved food manufacturer, no small feat, lugging in hundreds of pounds of fresh produce each day, peeling, chopping, steaming, pureeing, filling, lidding, and stickering. It's clearly still a part of me. My chiropractor is the real winner here. But we really quickly gained the attention of the industry, and we're Expo West Pitch Slam finalists in our first year, Target Takeoff Accelerator graduates in our second, and front page of Crunchbase in our third. We've become thought leaders, appearing on numerous podcasts, educating parents about infant nutrition and allergen introduction, and spearheaded change in the industry as founding members of Partnership for a Healthier America's Shaping Early Palates initiative. We've garnered the support of leading pediatricians, universities, WIC, USDA, and are encouraging a global shift towards more transparency and veggie-forward products across the industry. We also sit on a board that is helping to spearhead change with the FDA, agriculture, and industry to create enforceable standards on heavy metals and ultimately reduce exposure over time across the board. Okay, so funding. We've raised a few small rounds of investment to get us to each meaningful milestone as we continue to focus on building a capital-efficient, scalable model. Learning everything we could about our product, our customer profile, perishable shipping, you name it. In the first 3 years, we were proud of our ultra-loyal following of our first 1,000 families. Our traction was gangbusters, with 80% retention and impressive lifetime values, even with people's first baby. Our margins are really strong, with a 75% product margin and 45% including our eco-friendly cooler box, dry ice fulfillment delivery. But we quickly outgrew that commercial kitchen and couldn't keep up with our organic demand, so we started our RFP process for a co-packer. As anyone can attest, finding the right manufacturing partner is essential and can be a lengthy process, double that with COVID. But I'm happy to say we ended up with the best partner possible that we can scale with indefinitely, and one of the leading manufacturers of baby food, and is really dedicated to supporting innovation. We also invested in custom packaging that is more eco-friendly and will dramatically reduce our COGS. And thank goodness, I'm not doing this alone. Kendall, my COO and co-founder, has a master's in biophysics and molecular genetics, much smarter than me. She's a proven founder and kick-butt operator. At the age of 30, she started the first perinatal private practice in the Bay Area with 5 other physicians and quickly built the company to 50 employees as the general manager. She sits as a board president of George Mark Children's House and is just an absolute rock star. She'd be here, but she's kicking butt trying to get our next production ready to go. Our investors and advisors include the ex-CEO of Unified Grocers, board leaders at OHSU, Ovo and Port of Portland, head of people at Brex, advertising execs and producers, and a collective of leading experts in CPG. So the ask, you're all wondering. We've built the ship. We've proven the scalable, capital-efficient model, and we are ready to rock. We're about to open a new round of funding to fuel our growth, and it's game on, baby. So please reach out with any interest, introductions, or ways to collaborate.
Amazing. Really nicely done, Katie.
Thank you.
My first question is, do you sleep, Katie? This is really, really impressive. I just
do you want me to answer that?
like 4.5 hours a week. I just am really, really impressed with everything that you're doing here, and I want to know more about the hazelnut pumpkin pie, number one. Number two, you talked about developing products for the rest of the family. What does that look like?
Yes, so we've done a lot of kind of recipe innovation in our own kitchens, and as well as reaching out to our customers. So as a direct-to-consumer business who owns that customer relationship, right, having emails, knowing babies' ages and families' nutritional profiles and things, it makes it really easy for us to be able to reach out and ask, what's next? What would you like to see next for us? So toddler meals, following that infant past the infant puree stage is a huge opportunity for us, right? Because we have this 80% retention. We have parents who we've earned their trust. They are super happy, and then they're like, where do we go next? And we're like, we're so close. So toddler meals and meals that are kind of ubiquitous to the family. Yeah.
Isn't it so fun to think about babies as the market? They're like, I want the chicken apple curry. I'm a baby. Give it to me. Like
They're
on the computer, like
adventurous.
picking their meals.
Yeah.
I love it so much. What's been the most surprising thing for you going through this process? I mean, it's been fast and furious, but what kind of
Fast.
really...
Well, I think I would have, when I had the idea 14 years ago, so my son sat in the front row, inspired the company, sorry, buddy. And so taking an idea to a business plan, to a co-manufacturer, getting FDA approved, all of that, and raising our first small friends and family round, that took me like 9 years. Developing the 100% daily nutrition system, and I'm more passionate about baby food than I even was, 14 years ago. So I think just understanding the perseverance and the amount of time that it would take, but also being really proud of the fact that we did it. We did it our way. We didn't, over-raise or make really, really big gambles in testing and learning on a larger scale, but instead took the time to really understand our customer and our product and learn and grow.
Passionate about baby food. Questions from the audience. I imagine you all have, yes, in the back.
How has your time at Starbucks from an organizational standpoint helped you with
How has your time at Starbucks from an organizational standpoint helped you with your business? A great question.
Great question. I was very lucky. I got to wear a whole lot of hats and sit on a whole lot of teams as health and wellness was new. I walked in as a dietitian, supposed to do a 3-week contractor role and tell them just the calories and all the beverage iterations, and managed to tell them, made them make me stay, and created the first nutritionist role. But with that, I sat on regulatory affairs and quality assurance. I worked with the legal team. I worked alongside marketing and category, then became part of the strategy and innovation teams, et cetera, et cetera. So it was just over a course of 6 years, I got to see a lot, but I also got to see that with enough passion to, march an idea through a big building and behemoth like that, you can get, change can be made. It takes a lot more time on a big scale. Which was also another motivator for me as a startup, right? Is I know how long it's going to take Gerber to figure this out and invest the money to, it takes a long time for a big company to make, to innovate and to make shifts. So.
Well, and as we've seen, like with the handbag industry, Kate Hapstead talks about this a lot. Like they're not going to do it. There might be one little spotlight. They don't have to do that, right? So you really are poised to create a whole new system here, which is so exciting. Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Oh, wow.
How are you reaching parents now?
So we're all direct to consumer. So when we scaled from the commercial kitchen to our co-manufacturer, it allowed us to have national distribution. So we have 2 different fulfillment centers that allow us to reach all the doorsteps in the continental U.S. But how we really reach them is probably more of your question, is myriad of things. So social media targeting, it's partnering with like-minded companies that are also, targeting the same customer. It's micro influencers and sampling. I have done, as I was doing probably weekly sampling events in the Bay Area when we were in our Square Baby 1.0 version. So it's encouraging trial and brand awareness through all the different avenues. Yeah.
This gives a whole new meaning to the term micro-influencer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Word of baby mouth. Word of baby mouth. Yes. What does it cost to feed a baby? That's a very big question.
That's a good question. So our meals start at $4.98, including delivery. So it is. So one meal at a, so depending on baby's age, they'll have 1, 2, or 3 meals a day, just depending on how old they are and how much food they're taking in during that time. So it could look like $5 a day, it could look like $15 a day. You could mix it with other table foods and things, but $4.98 is our starting price. So that's including the shipment to your doorstep. We ship every 2 weeks. So what we do is we allow 4 different levels of plans, a 14, 28, 42, and 56 meal box, which allows for 1, 2, or 3 or 4 meals per day. But because we're a frozen product, we like to take the worry away that the meals are going to spoil or you're not going to go through them fast enough. So our parents like to kind of stock up their freezer and then maybe pause their next shipment, which is great for us, right? Because we'd rather them order 56 meals at once or 42 meals every 3 weeks than the 14 every other week. Just
Single baby, twins, triplets, quad baby situation. That's a lot of meals. I think there was, yes, all the way in the back there. Uh-huh.
Hi. Oh, hi. Oh,
Great presentation, Katie. I agree. That's the question.
Yeah.
Just you did good.
Oh.
What can the audience do for you, Katie?
Well, first of all, can I just say I'm so grateful to finally be in Bend, but then to have discovered this community is really, I mean, in the Bay Area, there was, naturally Bay Area and things when I was part of all of those things, but there is something really, really, truly special about Bend in general and about this community, so thank you for welcoming me and allowing me to be on the stage. But as an entrepreneur who's always going to be closing, we are fundraising, so I wouldn't be on the stage. Well, I would be on the stage. I would take any stage that's offered to me. But yeah, so we're looking for angel investors, family offices, probably at this round, who are interested in an awesome opportunity.
Great. Okay, so open up your pocketbooks. Okay, I think we have one more question. So how about right here?
How much are you looking to raise?
How much are you looking to raise, and what's your revenue goal this
We
year?
are looking to raise $500,000 in the next 90 days, close in the next 90 days. And our revenue goal, we're backing off of it quite a bit, just based on the fact that with the co-manufacturer, we just relaunched, and we're kind of doing a slow ramp up. But we anticipate $650K this year, but quickly increasing to $5 million our second year, $11 million our third, 24 our fourth, and EBITDA positive at that time.
So exciting. Well, I hope that you will come back and give us an update. This is incredible.
I'll throw stuff all over the stage.
You just throw Lucky Charms everywhere and these pouches. I mean, it's really, you shared a killer amount of information with us, so thank you. Beautiful pitch.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, let's give it up for Katie. That was a really, really great pitch. I think you have some excited people in the audience. So put your hands together one more time for Square Baby. It's so fun. It's so great. I just love everything about it. I don't even have a baby. I'm like, can I find someone that would? Okay, cool. Hazelnuts, I love it. Thanks for joining us, Katie. Okay, so on to our keynote presentation. Sponsored by COCC, Central Oregon Community College specializes in partnering with local businesses and industries to create fully customized training programs. Whether business owners are looking to certify local workers in specialized on-the-job skills, establish an apprenticeship program, or develop and deploy HR workshops, COCC is the region's partner in workforce training and professional development. Learn more about COCC Center for Business, Industry, and Professional Development at cocc.edu/CBIPD. So tonight we have two very exciting keynote speakers, Lauren Fraser and Dave Finocchio. These two apply skills gained in their fast-paced sports media careers at the Bleacher Report to new ventures in the climate space right here in Bend. Dave was the founder and longtime CEO of Bleacher Report, and Lauren led sports partnerships at Twitter and later became the COO of CrowdTangle. Welcome, Lauren and Dave.
Hi, everybody. This is the first time we've ever given a co-presentation, so we'll see if it works. I'm Dave. This is Lauren.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for hearing us talk. I started a sports website when I was just graduating from college that I guess changed the trajectory of my life. So we're here to talk about our business journeys and I guess life journeys by default. So I was a second semester senior at Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, and I had a little bit of a life freak out. I had accepted a job with an iBank in New York, and I realized that I actually didn't want to do that job, and instead I wanted to try to start a sports website, which was sort of insane. I was very nervous to talk to my father about that in particular. And I sort of had two hypotheses about sports about the online sports market for people who are familiar or interested in it. One was I was a 21-year-old kid at the time on a college campus with a bunch of other kids, and I thought that the sports websites that we were sort of stuck with were out of touch with my generation. So I thought that a different voice would be valued and it's sort of a different style of creating sports content. And then I was also an economics major in college, and I had supply and demand on the brain all the time, and I was taking all sorts of interesting electives. And it seemed to me like when I was reading sports content online, maybe the people who were making those decisions about what to cover were sometimes older and maybe not necessarily using data to figure out what people wanted to read or wanted to watch. At that time, it was especially wanted to read. And it turned out that was wildly correct. Let's say like the older generation of sports editors were using their gut feel to figure out what assignments to give their writers and other content creators. And they were making really inefficient decisions. And as a result, sports fans weren't being served very well. So I got a company off the ground. I basically, when I graduated from college, I put together a PowerPoint presentation and I sent it to, I think, 8 friends who sort of had their acts together at that point in life. And a couple of my buddies got back to me, and we sort of day by day figured out how to get a company off the ground. And I think we'll talk about where Bleacher Report ended up. It was a wild journey. Today, for years it's been one of the largest sports properties in the United States, and all sorts of crazy stuff happened. But I think as I've reflected on the journey, and I've told the story a number of times, I think for me the most interesting part of the story and why the company was really successful, and for anybody else in the room who is an entrepreneur or who has been or who's been on teams, was really about the team that came together to build the company. And I grew up playing a lot of sports. I was a sports junkie in terms of following sports, also playing sports. I played everything. Sometimes I'd be the bench warmer on the team. Sometimes I'd be the third best player on the team. Sometimes I'd be the star player on the team. I sort of had experience playing a lot of different roles, and I think that for me, that experience playing sports really translated when I was actually figuring out how to lead people, how to hire people, and ultimately trying to steer a lot of people to sort of walk down the same path and walk in the same direction. And so Lauren, who I will just clarify in our experience together, you did not work for me. You worked for one of my other co-founders. So I'll get that out of the way. But you're going to talk a little bit about the team at Bleacher Report.
Yes. So just quick, early in my career, I had, after college, thought I wanted to be a lawyer, went and actually worked for a law firm for a couple of years and decided that was not going to be my future career path. Then was trying to figure out what I was going to do. Ended up going to business school and did my summer internship at ESPN. I was really into sports and had this great experience and was like, okay, this is something I can be really passionate about. And went to ESPN, and from there was really excited about getting to the West Coast, which, as most of you know, ESPN's in Bristol, Connecticut, where there's not much else going on. So I started looking around for some other sort of like interesting media type companies in San Francisco on the West Coast, and found Bleacher Report, which at the time was a 40-person startup in a one-room office. Just outside of Soma in San Francisco.
It's easily my favorite office of all the offices.
It was a great office. But because I had sort of this experience at ESPN related to the business development that Bleacher Report was trying to do with other local properties, got hired, which is super exciting, and joined the team there. So at the time, I didn't fully appreciate how special Bleacher Report was, but now having worked at 5 other companies since then, I really appreciate how special the experience was and what Dave and his team and co-founders created. But some of the things I just wanted to highlight that I think were really special about that, and I think hopefully a lot of you think about instilling in your businesses, is one, we had very clear goals that everyone in the company was behind. So it was audience growth and revenue And those, like, we knew every single milestone we were trying to hit and celebrated every single one of those goals. So in the time that I was there, starting in 2010 to 2012 when the company was acquired, we went from 10 million in audience to 40 million. And every single one of those millions was like, we're ringing the bell, we're going out, we're celebrating it as a team. And same on the revenue side. We had just hired our first head of sales, who is this guy, Josh in New York, very big personality. And so every single time we sold a campaign, the entire company knew what that campaign was, and like we were all behind it and working together. So I think like really building that camaraderie and figuring out like what we were celebrating and what we were so excited about was really important. And I think the other thing to highlight, so I came in business development. I'm trying to work with both, we worked with a lot of local newspapers because it was a great way to grow our audience. With organizations that had really established audiences and SEO, if you're familiar with growing the internet, that was really important at the time and still is. So built a lot of relationships there and with other sports properties, teams, leagues. And so I would often want to build things and be like, anything the partner wants, I want to build, and have to go to our head of engineering who would then bring a group together and say, hey, how are we going to prioritize this with our roadmap? And I think one of the things that the team was really good about was figuring out how we align our goals together and really work across the organization to figure out what we were going to prioritize. But everyone felt really invested in all of the other teams and knew what everyone was doing, I think partially because we'd built these great relationships. All right, 2012, the company gets acquired by Turner Broadcasting, which is owned by Time Warner. And I'll turn it back over to Dave.
Yeah, we sold the company. We sold it for a little over $200 million to Time Warner, which was then later acquired by AT&T, which then sold it to Discover. So the company I built is now like it's somewhere. And they're I talked to a guy today who's the third. I think he's the third longest tenured employee at the company, and he started the year after the company was acquired. So you didn't even overlap with him, which is crazy. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so old if this guy's the third last person standing. But the experience as a founder, I think on the other side of an acquisition is unique. A lot of founders have a really hard time after their company's acquired because they, in a lot of situations, they lose control, and when they're used to having a lot of control, and so most leave pretty quickly. I was fortunate, I guess, in a couple senses. One, our company was on fire when we sold. We were doing really, really well, and so the acquirer who had planned to integrate us into what they were doing basically left us alone. And I ended up being there for another mostly 7 years, and they really didn't integrate the company until after I left. So that was, it took a lot of foresight on their end. They were mostly New York, a little bit Atlanta-based organization, and they had enough savvy to look at what Google had done with some acquisitions, where they said, there was one guy in the company in particular who said, you know what? If this is going well, let's just leave it alone, and that really made the experience for me. We ended up becoming a household brand in the sports world. I worked with Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and Ernie Johnson, and had all sorts of crazy life experiences with different sports people, and just Mark Cuban screaming at me, and Adam Silver telling me his deepest, darkest secrets, and just like all sorts of wild stuff over the years. It was incredible. At the same time, so I left in 2019, and I sort of, I guess just as a human, I'd had this. Like for me, Bleacher Report, as much as it's sort of like a silly sports entertainment company, depending on your perspective, but for me, it was a very mission-driven thing. Going back to when I was, a little kid, sports meant the world to me, and I really, at my core, wanted to leave an imprint on that world. By the time I was 35 or so, my learning curve, sort of in sports and in media, wasn't as steep as it used to be, and I'd sort of lost that sense of purpose. I was being asked, we were figuring out sort of what our $1 billion sports betting strategy was going to be, and I was like, I don't know if I want to spend the next 10 years of my life. I don't have anything against sports betting, by the way, but I didn't necessarily want to spend the next 10 years of my life figuring out how to get 18-year-olds to bet on sports. That's just like not what I wanted to do with my time. And so I started to figure out that I needed to take some time away and sort of figure out what my next mountain to climb would be. And I think that's maybe where the story gets, at least for me, it's more interesting because thankfully I had a really wonderful partner who sort of ended up guiding me to the next phase of our life. Back to Lauren.
Okay, in the interim, I left Bleacher Report in 2012, shortly after the acquisition, and went over to Twitter, which they were starting to grow their partnerships with sports properties. So worked with leagues and broadcasters on how to build their businesses on Twitter, which was similarly a very exciting time. I went to a lot of great events and had some really exciting life moments, like helping Johnny Manziel's mom in the green room the year that he was drafted, for example, and doing lots of interesting things. But after Twitter, ended up taking a little bit of time off and then joined CrowdTangle, which at the time was a 10-person startup focused on social analytics. Again, performance on Facebook and Twitter for companies. But I think taking a lot of the experience I had at Bleacher Report to another startup, was CEO of that company, and we had incredible product market fit pretty much from the beginning, which, as many of you know, is incredibly difficult, but we were very lucky, and expanded that business through media and sports organizations. Ended up working with a lot of international, what's the word I'm looking for? NGOs and other groups that were working on reaching communities. But we ended up being acquired by Facebook, and I was there for about 4 years, continuing to work on CrowdTangle while we were at Facebook. So I'm sort of fast forwarding. That's sort of a little bit of the background of this career. But while I was there, we have 2 kids now, but I had my daughter who's now 6, and started to see very much to the food issue, but like we were creating so much waste. And I was really concerned about, we're buying all of these things that I think we don't need. We're trying to pass them on, trying to figure out how we can, do more circular economy, and started to just learn more about climate and got really, really concerned and worried, and took that into this pretty big networking journey. But met lots of interesting people, got involved in some great groups. If anyone's interested in getting into climate tech, My Climate Journey, on deck are some great organizations. There's a great Women in Climate Tech group also. But got to meet some really interesting founders and think about what space I wanted to get involved in climate. One of the things that I really realized along this journey was that energy is by far the biggest source of where our emissions are coming from. As consumers, I think we often think about what we're wearing or buying as where we think about climate often, but it's all about energy use. And so I got really excited about electrification, which is the idea that we need to transition from fossil fuel appliances and vehicles to clean electric appliances and vehicles that are powered by renewable energy. So got really excited about that concept, ended up going to work for Rewiring America, which is a nonprofit focused on electrification. Did some great work on the Inflation Reduction Act, which passed last year, and really helped work with the private sector there, and companies that were working on electrification, like Mitsubishi and Trane and Carrier and kind of like big HVAC manufacturers to help influence that legislation. So fast forwarding from that experience, got to meet my co-founders who were some other former founders, really smart group of people that were thinking about how we pull other levers to scale this idea of electrification. And one of the biggest hurdles, even though there's now all of this money that's going to be coming to consumers in the form of tax credits and rebates around implementing clean electric appliances and getting EVs and really thinking about this clean energy transition, people need to know about it. And it's really hard to reach people and reach people at scale. and start to think about making these decisions before something breaks and you're in an emergency and you need a water heater tomorrow, and so you just put in another gas water heater, for example. So we built Canopy, which is a platform to help individuals transition from their fossil fuel appliances and really think about decarbonization in their own lives. And so we were working through companies and now starting to work with individuals, but like working through companies to help them work with their employees on this journey of decarbonization. I'm going to turn it over to you because I'm tired of talking, but then I can talk a little bit more.
Fair enough. So we moved here 2 years ago, and before that, we're long-time San Francisco residents. We lived a block from Haight-Ashbury forever, which was its own life journey. But in 2014 to 2016 was sort of the period where we figured out that wildfire and smoke seasons were, which had never been a mainstay in the Bay Area. There was one wildfire season that happened in the early 90s in Oakland, and then sort of never happened, and then all of a sudden started happening every single year. And we started to have kids about the same time period. And Lauren sort of like dragged me along on this journey where she really wanted to learn about sort of the problem side levers around climate, like what actually is driving this, and sort of what, like, it's very complex in a lot of ways and very simple depending on if you look at it other ways. But we wanted to learn about the problem side levers and then the solution side levers. And we started just consuming a lot of content about climate, listening to a podcast called My Climate Journey, where the host would have really cool entrepreneurs come on, and listening to a couple of other podcasts. And I found the world to be, because I'm sort of a content person and I'm decent at figuring out like how to make information connect with big groups of people. At least I can do it online. And the information I was consuming via the podcast was interesting to me. I was learning a lot, but I knew that it had no chance of ever being mainstream and coming across as relatable to like sort of your average American. And I started thinking about like, geez, there's even my friends who, a lot of them went to top colleges and yada yada, like they know nothing about this. They're not educated about these topics at all. When I hear them speak about the topics, I know now that a lot of the information they spew is incorrect, or they don't understand the nuance. And so information and education is a big deal here. And a lot of people, frankly, just like we are, most of us, going to be making transitions, whether we know it or not, to be less wasteful and less polluting people. And a lot of us need guides in order to help us along the way. And that might be help polluting or wasting less. It might be help saving money along the way. It might be help with health benefits that come from making some of these changes. So anyway, with my content lens on, I thought we need a lot better information about climate and related topics that's a lot more accessible. So I ended up putting together a project team, as I do when I think about projects, and I ended up launching something called the Cool Down, which is now at thecooldown.com. We launched last July, so we've been live for 8 months. Turns out there's a lot of white space in the market. We've already grown to almost 10 million users in 8 months. So by comparison, it took Bleacher Report 5 years to get that big. And basically what we're doing is we are attracting people sort of through what I call top of the funnel, but through sort of like really easily accessible content that relates to a lot of people. And then we're trying to funnel them down into products that are more like how we help you and guide you through your own personal journey. A lot of what we're doing right now is getting people to sign up for newsletters and sort of make climate something that you don't think about as being totally negative, and you think about as being an opportunity to, again, improve your family's health, save money, waste less, and in the process, maybe decide to make some bigger changes over time if, again, that's right for you and your family. So if you want to say something else, I'll turn it over to you in a second, but I'll just say that I think we both feel sort of a sense of purpose now, having been, I think, been through different versions of startups at different phases, but have a lot of, even though the climate sort of situation to us is daunting. I think I don't know, say that we're happy working in climate is sort of weird, but I think just like having a strong sense of purpose is something I really value, and I'm really enjoying doing this, and I'm very grateful for sort of the opportunity to do it. So, anything else you want to say?
I think I'm good.
Okay, all right,
Happy
we're
to
good.
take questions.
Round of applause. This is really exciting stuff. I loved what you shared. And my first question is to go into what you were just sort of referencing. Like, how are you feeling about climate and where we're going and what we're doing and what's possible? Start sobbing.
I think that, I don't know if many of you read this, the IPCC report came out yesterday, the most recent one, and it's pretty daunting, like what we're facing as a global community. But there's so much inspiring work that's happening, and we're both pretty involved in the climate tech community. And there's actually a really great climate tech group that started in Bend, so you should connect with them and get the startup groups going. But there's so much really cool innovation that's happening both on the hard technology side with battery storage and improved solar technology, to really cool seaweed agriculture and new farming practices, and just really great things that are happening. And I think we just need to figure out how to accelerate it even faster.
Yeah, I would say I'm a big history geek. Sports and history are my two things, and I think in United States history, we don't have a great track record of doing hard things without true popular support. And I mean, for me, yeah, the technology's there. And if you spend time looking at the technology, the things that are happening in every single industry and every single sector are like pretty incredible. And the people in the spaces are so inspiring. Like it's amazing. But I hope there is more popular support to accelerate some of these transitions that we need to make. On the sooner side, because the faster we accelerate, the better our kids and grandkids' lives are going to be. I'm pretty convinced of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I know I saw some hands going up. Yes, right here.
So my sense is there's a lot of effort going into providing incentives for people to buy electric cars, electrify solar panels, things like that. I feel like it's still tilted where it's hard for people without a lot of money to get into that. Two questions: would you agree with that? And if you do, is that a problem? Is it just like if we electrify more and make more progress, does it matter who is really pulling that in?
Okay, this is an interesting question. He's talking about like the cost to enter into some of these programs. It seems like they're sort of geared towards people who have a higher income. So your thoughts on that, do you agree? And what does it look like sort of as it grows and more people are participating?
It's a great question. So I'd say to date, yes, things have been expensive. There's more of an early adopter, wealthier adopter model. With the incentives in the Inflation Reduction Act, I'd say there's two things. So one, tax incentives, which will bring down the cost for, I'll call it like more upper middle class citizens or adopters. But with the rebates that are not out yet, but they're going to come to the end of this year, they should fully cover the cost of these appliances and upgrades. So that doesn't go for cars. Cars are still, you get $7,500.
For median income families and down, right?
Yep, 150% of area median income. I have a lot of detail if anyone wants it. So I think the sort of important thing to know is that coming at the end of this year, there will be a lot more incentives for everybody to be able to get involved. And the hope is with like this big infusion of dollars that will help the market. A lot of this is about driving market transition. That then the cost of appliances and installation will start to come down because there's going to be such an upswing in adoption. Again, like needs to be proven, but it's over time that's sort of been the trend. So ideally, that's what happens.
And then it would start to make sense for like landlords to be taking advantage of these programs as well, right?
Yes, we need all the landlords.
Get all the landlords you know.
Who's a landlord?
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say this IRA money is sort of relative peanuts to what it's actually going to cost to just electrify the United States. But you got to start somewhere, and whether you believe that it should start with the private market or the public market, or the government sort of seeding some funding and pushing some things along. My attitude is generally speaking, like, we got to get moving, and I think this is worth a try. So.
Yes, Kyle.
So you started your first company when you just getting out of college and the first thing, and now you're kind of an experienced founder. How is this more recent media company easier or harder? Because first, you're young, it's the first one, but it's sports, which is ubiquitous. This one, you're trying to convince people or dive in with something that is important, but a little bit more niche depending on who you're talking to.
Yeah, so Kyle wants to know how this experience as a founder compares and contrasts to your first experience, climate versus sports.
Yes. All right, I'll phrase it this way. I did a bunch of investing between when I left Bleacher Report in 2019. I spent a couple of years advising companies, investing with two partners, and there's a lot of investors. Most investors are very, very biased towards backing experienced founders over first-time founders. And I, as somebody who had some success as a first-time founder, I always thought it was sort of ridiculous. Because I had so much energy, I really had a chip on my shoulder. I worked so hard. I had when Lauren met me, I didn't have anything on my walls in my 400 square foot studio apartment.
He had one fork.
I'm surprised I had one fork. Yeah, I was just all in. It was my life, and I was working with a lot of other people. It was their lives too, and I was like, how as a second-time founder, being sort of being honest with myself, can I ever make up for that? And so I doing this again, I had some self-doubt about it. And then 6 months in, I sort of realized oh my God, there were so many things I did not know how to do the first time that took so much time, and I made so many stupid decisions that I had to learn from, and we hit so many potholes. And now we know what we're doing, and I don't know, as we've started to grow pretty quickly, I kind of have the swag back, and I'm like, I'm not bad at this. So I do think it's different phase of life. My approach is on a daily basis is super, super different. Having two kids and being married to before, where I would just work all the time. But I do work a lot smarter now, and I'm probably more confident in my decision making because I have a lot of pattern recognition. So when people tell I had a lot of debate with my founders on the first team, and it took us years to sort of iron out those debates. Now I sort of know. So it's nope, we're doing this. So I don't know.
And then topically, climate versus sports, are you finding that, this thing that you've got is growing so much fast?
So there were a lot of questions about this when I was starting the company around well, climate's pretty niche. Not a lot of people care about climate. One, there are more ways to make climate content relatable. Basically, you trick people into thinking they're not consuming climate content when they are, is one way of putting that bluntly. And then I'm sure this will change. But when we entered the sports space, there was so much competition. ESPN was, I'm paraphrasing a VC who told us no, one of many, many VCs who told us no, but he said, hey, like you guys, but you've got a behemoth in your space in ESPN, you've got CBS Sports and Fox Sports and NBC Sports and AOL Sports and Sports Illustrated and on and on and on. And I just, he looked at me and said, I fundamentally don't believe you're going to be big enough to ever matter. You're either, in this business, it's a zero-sum game. You're either one of the top three or you're dead. I was like, oh, okay, so we're going to need to get pretty good at audience growth. But it was a very cutthroat business. In climate, we're taking a very data-driven approach. My whole belief is that nobody's really used data to build customer journeys for people in climate based on your belief system, where you live in the country, your behavior. Let's use some data and figure out actually where you are and how we can move you along to help you and your family. Nobody's done that. And so I think there's a bit of a lack of sophistication in the space so far, relative to sports. So in some sense, it's been easier just because the techniques we've developed over the years just have not been used in this space, versus in sports, everything we did within 6 to 12 months, our competitors were trying to replicate it over and over again.
I love that.
So my question is, I love the idea of like information driven and trying to really educate people because I think that's the founding thing. But and I guess maybe I'm just as uneducated, but I love the idea of electrifying and saving our climate and all that. But it's always come back to me that like, where does the electricity come from? It comes from fossil fuels or whatever. So how do you get around that, or what do you have what's your
Yeah, this is a great question. This is a question specific to if we're going towards electrification of everything, what's the cost of electrification, and is that really the right answer and the right thing to put all of our efforts behind?
It's a great question, and it's like the question. So we need to both electrify the supply side and the demand side. So right now in our country, I think 40% of our electricity is clean, coming from solar and wind and clean energy sources, and the other 60% is coming from fossil fuels, coal, natural gas. So we need to move all of that to 100% renewables. There's a lot of work there, but still a lot to go. And right now, the cost of solar and wind is dropping. So in many places, it's actually cheaper than fossil fuels. So it's really about, there's a lot of work at the federal level also, like how do we increase transmission and being able to get all of that clean energy on the grid, which there's some really cool companies in Bend that are working on solar and, stuck in this line, trying to get their solar on the grid. So super important is first part. But if we wait till all of that's 100% renewable to then move the demand side, which is all our appliances, then we won't have done the job because we're still all hooked up to gas. So I think it needs to be done in parallel. And what we recommend through Canopy for anyone that sort of goes through the process is the first thing you do is sign up for clean energy. So through your utility or through community solar, there's amazing community solar programs in Oregon. Get signed up for 100% renewable energy. In most cases, it's actually cheaper than what you're paying with your utility bill right now, especially for community solar. And then start that process of electrification because you know that what you're doing is clean.
So for a specific example, we looked when we bought a house here 3 years ago. We looked at putting solar panels on the house. Our house doesn't face a great direction. It's a 2-tiered roof. Ran the numbers, wasn't great, and so we decided to wait on that. And instead, Lauren signed us up for community solar. So all of the energy that comes to our house is renewable energy. And then we had some electric appliances before that came with the house, and then we've done some other upgrades. But that's basically been our process of let's attack this side and then the other side. But signing up for community solar is super, super impactful, and it's really easy if you live here, especially.
Oregon shines. I'll just make a plug.
That's great. Kyle.
So I'm not 100% sure, but it kind of looks like, or I guess, what's your plan for going global?
What's your plan for going global and moving outside of the U.S.?
Is that for both of us?
Yeah, I mean, just for focusing on, obviously, focusing on the U.S. is a big task. I'm not dismissing that.
Big market.
That is huge, but also, is there a plan, or do you plan on expanding the reach from a media standpoint and the reach from an informational standpoint?
From a media and information standpoint, do you plan on expanding the reach outside the U.S.?
Okay. Yeah, different questions. Probably. I would say maybe someday, but not definitely not on my horizon right now. I think we have years and years of work to do. I did at Bleacher Report, just for context. I guess we got going in 2005. I was doing it full time by 2007. I opened up our London office in 2013. So it was basically 6 or 7 years of jamming on it just in the U.S. before we tried to move outside the U.S. Yeah.
We're very focused on the U.S. market right now, partially because we're lagging Europe and other countries right now, but also because one of the ways that we offer our product and sort of the value proposition is that everything is personalized, which means that we've built models off of U.S. energy data and home emission data so that everything is customized from recommendation and economic recommendation to each individual. So building that out in every country is incredibly complicated. So it's like a maybe if there are other markets that are really important.
Yeah. There was one in the back. Yes.
Yeah, the question example, lithium mining and some of the challenges on the green stuff might not be quite as green. In your research, are you finding some alternatives?
Yeah, this is a great question. So this is talking like, are these solutions always as green as we think they are, specifically lithium batteries and the mining process? What are your thoughts on that? And
You want me to go? I think it's a great question. I think there are, yes, some challenges that have been brought up around lithium. I think there's great technology that at least I've heard like the beginnings of coming out of labs that's using other sources of metals and what's the right word I'm looking for? Elements, not necessarily metals, but like other elements to create batteries that will not be as extractive as lithium, but they're not ready yet. So I think there is this push-pull with some of the technology. And I think I don't want to speak to it because I'm not an expert in it, but I think there have been some really good analyses of the pros and cons of different parts of these technologies and how it relates to the climate impact and like where it is sort of like worth mining lithium in the short term while we work on some of these other technologies because the value of switching to electric vehicles is so powerful for the climate.
Yeah, my take is there's certain things that are sort of, to me, more no-brainers, sort of from the standpoint of is this good or not, like switching to renewable energy. If it makes sense for you, I think is a no-brainer for the climate. EVs versus gas cars, you can read plenty of analysis on the internet that'll say that one side is better, the other side is better. My perspective, having done a bunch of research, I think EVs in current form are still better than gas cars, but if you have a gas car, it's still better to probably drive that until you can't drive it anymore. But when you buy your next car, maybe think about getting an EV or at least one EV if you have two cars. And I can talk about why that is if you want. But I think to Lauren's point, we are definitely relying on technologies improving with almost every aspect of this, including solar, over the coming years. I'm pretty confident the technology is going to get a lot better too, because there's an unprecedented amount of money being invested in this space.
I mean, it seems to me like a future with cars in their current form, whether EV or gas, is like not even a consideration. I mean, it's like, to me, it's only a matter of time before we just can't really justify using single cars anymore. Are people talking about that?
In cities, for sure. I think there's a lot of discussion and some really cool practices in other places in the world, but things that are happening in cities, and we see it even here in Bend, but like more biking and more public transportation and really innovative models there that I think is really interesting. In other parts of the country, it's, I think, just not realistic that everyone's going to be able to do that, and you're still going to need personal vehicles in more suburban and rural areas. So it's just a balance, right? But I think in places with higher density, like absolutely, we should be promoting more walkable, bikeable cities as much as possible.
Love me some trains. I'm going to say that. Love me some trains. Okay.
The train to Mount Bachelor.
Yeah, right. Oh, even just like a commuter train around town, like the train to Whole Foods and then back over to the west. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying we could do it. Okay, in the back.
I heard of a concept. I don't know where this is legitimate or but 15-minute cities. Have you heard of this environmentally friendly approach?
Okay, she thinks she may have heard of something. She's not sure if it's real. 15-minute cities, it's an environmental approach?
You guys did something on the Keynote.
We have.
Ooh, this is, wow, this is getting wild.
Yes, it's a, my understanding right now, we have covered it to an extent. I think it's mostly in concept mode there are some billionaires in our country right now who have like extensive plans to build new cities, and there are parts of other cities that are being in Europe. Like there's an old airport in Berlin, not the main airport, but they're the regional airport that's being transformed into sort of like a 15-minute city. yeah, I think there might be this new trend where billionaires who are sort of tired of owning sports teams are like, I've got a sports team, you've got a sports team, but like, do you have a city? Because I have a city. So, we'll see.
Gosh. Kevin.
This is more of an opinion question or kind of
Okay, we have an opinion question coming in. Like it.
or kind of a guess.
Or a guess. Okay.
What do you feel is the time horizon for some of these technological advances to hit the point where we reach saturation with the normal population?
Okay, so
For EVs, household electrification, solar, where it does feel like we're almost there. I've had the same experience of do I do this with solar? Do we, it does feel like we're right there with battery tech. There's so much that's right there. What do you see as a time horizon where it becomes more ubiquitous across the entire?
So he wants some your opinions on some time horizons for when these different technologies are sort of reaching critical mass.
My guess, which is as good as your guess or anybody else's in the room, that I think we've been in sort of we call it early adopter mode with all this stuff. Mostly the eco-environmentalist people, and then you've got some other groups of people that have mostly done this because it has not traditionally, for the last 10 years, been financially in your favor to necessarily do this. In some there's some exceptions to that. That is starting to change. In some cases, it has changed a lot. And so I think my view is we're now entering into this phase where there's this early majority of people. There's sort of 3 phases. There are the early adopters, the early majority, and then there's everybody else. And so I think we're entering into the phase where the early majority of folks, who are a much, much larger group of people than the early adopters, are coming in. I think that's my guess is that's sort of over the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of traction with that group and not so much with sort of the everybody else. The unknown is sort of what happens with extreme weather and whether they're sort of step function changes that are just caused by more and more people sort of being freaked out and saying but sometimes markets can move really, really quickly in the space we live in. People make World War II analogies all the time because a lot of climate people want us it's okay, it's just like World War II. Everybody's going to mobilize, post Pearl Harbor, let's go. And I think we live in a pretty individualistic society relative to other capitalist societies like Japan. They're more collectivist in terms of sort of looking out for their neighbors and thinking about a collective sense. The United States is a little bit less like that. And so I think that we're still in the individualistic phase where everybody's sitting around calculating all right, environment, but I need to make a financially savvy decision for myself. So everybody's sort of in the what's in it for me phase versus I need to do it for the collective phase. And I think because of advances in technologies and because of pricing likely coming down, I think that gap will shrink.
I'll give you one example. We've had incredible heat waves the past couple of years, and some of our neighbors in the Pacific Northwest don't have AC. So that's a huge opportunity. Instead of installing a regular AC unit, get a heat pump. It'll cover your heating and cooling. So how do we help shift people to making the smarter decision when something is happening and there's millions of people that all of a sudden need air conditioning that didn't have it before?
Yes, Kevin, you sure can. What is it?
On that note, do you think, again, opinion, it's more the technological advances or a change in people's perception and knowledge? Kind of what you guys are
Okay. Do you
that actually drives that critical
Do you think that it's more perception on the part of the people or the technological advances that really drives this critical mass?
The tech right now is way ahead of where cultural attitudes are. The tech is still the pricing right now is way ahead of if you were making these changes 5 years ago, you were doing it because you were willing to make a sacrifice. You don't really need to make many sacrifices anymore, just on a pound for pound basis for most things. Whether we're talking about product, well, anyway, I won't get into it. But yeah, I think the culture probably, and sort of like the element of like this phenomenon we see where if one of your neighbors gets solar panels, you are exponentially more likely to get solar panels. There's a huge sort of keeping up with the Joneses, or just the phenomenon, or just like you see this thing marketed to you every single day because you just see it. And so you're like, oh, maybe I'll get solar panels. And this isn't super weird, like they got solar panels. And I think more of that like more and more people who, like you see them driving around town with EVs, you see the solar panels, things will start to pick up momentum.
That's great.
And can I just add?
Yeah.
It's all the way up from like consumers, like our workforce, installers, like all the way up. There's a lot of, I'll call it like education and culture shift that ideally will happen in sort of like what's recommended and then what people end up doing.
Yeah, like the contractor trade side of this is a really big deal. We do not have enough electricians in the United States. We don't have enough tradespeople who've been trained to install a lot of these appliances we're talking about. So one of my opinions is like, if you're a kid and you
in the front row.
Well, this like depends what they want to do with their lives, but say you're somebody who's not as interested in going to college to get a liberal arts education or something, you don't want to go into a bunch of debt. Like being an electrician in this country, like you're going to make six figures. You're going to be able to make it quickly. It's going to be a super stable job because like we're going to need like if you're a good electrician, you're going to have a lot of business for a long, long time. So I think just more awareness around like there are a lot of good, stable careers that are going to come along because of this transition, and like they might involve not having to go into a ton of debt.
I love that. How about for comedians? Okay, we can talk later. I know we had one more in the back. Yeah. Okay, so this will be the last one, and then I have like a mini one. Yes. So how do you measure success, Dave, on your site? What does success look like for you in terms of how you're dealing with your clients or your customers and what you're asking them to do?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Past business, basically like the businesses are both I call them funnel businesses. Like you try to get people to sort of come in at the top because they consume some content, and then you try to retain them, and that can be following you on social media, or in this case, like we try to get them to sign up for newsletters. At Bleacher Report, things sort of stop there. It's mostly about content consumption. The cool down, the difference is we have a third part of the funnel that we call action. And essentially what we're doing right now is we have a framework where we are testing lots of different behaviors to figure out like we're sort of letting the market dictate what we do more of. And so we have a lot of behaviors around product purchases. We have a database of 4,000 sustainable products, and we are recommending, and we are putting those products in front of our user base to figure out which ones are taking and not. So that's the product piece. We have a whole services layer where we've found that circular economies, like secondhand markets, are really, really popular right now, and not just with Gen Z. Like, a lot of younger people do a lot of clothing shopping in vintage stores, and like that's a much bigger deal in their generation than it was in mine, and probably other people with other people in the room. But I think circular economies are going to really, really pick up steam, and they're like those ecosystems will grow a lot. So that's another area we're pushing people towards. Opportunities like anyway, I know we're running late, so I'll cut it short. Basically, we're trying to test behaviors right now to figure out what's sticky, and like anyone who we get to take any action right now is a win. And then once we get people to take action, then our goal is to sort of help them along their journey to take further action. Sorry, that's not the best answer.
No, any action is a win.
That's figure out how to monetize it.
Any action is a win. I think that's a great takeaway in this specific. Okay, so here's my question: Leonardo DiCaprio, early adopter on the Prius, hurting or helping the client? You know what? Let's not go there. Thank you so much, Dave and Lauren. How about a round of applause? This was fascinating. We could talk all night, clearly. I mean, it's still light out. That was tricky. Okay, so I have a gift for you. This is our tradition. So I have a PubTalk. It's reusable. So you get a big old stein, and we'll fill it with your choice of square baby food the next time you come to PubTalk. And you'll have a balanced nutritional evening. Oh, mic drop. That's exactly how that needs to end. Thank you both so much. Yes, of course. Really, really, really interesting stuff. Okay, my friends, just very, very quickly, remember, we do have the luncheon coming up on the 22nd. Get your tickets. The Ready Luncheon earlier this week was amazing. Sun River and La Pine's turn is on April 11th, so if you plan to attend, get your ticket. Thank you for coming. Thank you to Worthy. Thank you to Hand in Hand Productions. I'm Shannon Kelly. Have a great night, and I'll see you in a month. Okay, take care.